excited on this one, guys. 1985 Fiero, 6-cylinder, 4-speed manual. Found this thing sitting outside of St. Louis. It's been tucked away in a barn garage, not sure exactly where it was, but the guy that I got it from found it tucked away. He pulled it out, he put some new tires on it, he kind of brought it around, it runs. I trailered it here, I didn't drive it back. It's an original 69,000 mile car, from what I understand. We'll look around it. I'll kind of show you what we got to work with here, but this one, guys, we're gonna bring it all the way back around. New paint, clean the interior, fix everything we can, make everything functional. Like I said, we're gonna bring this thing all the way around. I'll give you a tour of it, and then we'll get started. So if you look at it, front spoiler down below, really, I mean, this is great condition. I mean, no major cracks, chips, anything. Just really good condition. The headlights, of course, the motors don't work. That's on the list of things got to fix. They do function. I mean, they turn on and off, but they don't, you know, do the... But that's not a problem. We'll fix that. So, wheels, original. Tires were replaced by the previous owner that I got it from. The ones that were on it were too dry rotted to move it around on, so he put some BF Goodrich Radial TAs, probably close to one of my favorites. But overall, the body and all the ground effects and everything is in just great shape. The sail windows, cracked, expected. These always dry rot and crack out. So those have to get replaced. I mean, all the other plastics though, everything, I mean, like the wheel wells, I mean, everything is just so clean. It's such a clean car. The back tail light, great condition. It's got the dual exhaust, of course. Like I said, all the plastic and the ground effects just immaculate. I mean, just, well, I mean, of course, the paint, but we got a little rub right here, but I mean, not even bad at all. But the whole car just blows my mind how good a condition it's in. Of course, this side's cracked also. All the ground effects on this side look great. There is a spot here. I did notice this. I didn't see it when we picked the car up. I did not see this. But it does have a small, I don't think it's a dent, because these are plastic, you know. I actually think that's the door frame. Got a little pushed in right here. So we'll have to fix that. But beyond that, that's the only body work, if you even call it body work, just, I mean, pushing the inside of that out. We got to fix that. Besides that, the entire car is together very tight, and the glass is all good. No chips, cracks, nothing on it. The sunroof, I was glad to see that. That's pretty cool. Might have to replace the seal, and I'll show you why I think that. But let's get inside of this thing, take a look at it. Oh, one thing I did miss. The weather stripping. We're gonna have to do something about it. It needs to be replaced. So that's on the list. But the interior in this thing, besides needing some cleaning, I mean, it's just so good. I mean, the plastics, the dash, I mean, look at this dash. It's mind-boggling how clean this car is. The interior is just a time capsule. I mean, we have some issues with some delamination of the glue up here. I can fix that. Same, of course, with these. Very common in a Fiero. But, I mean, this interior is just mind-bogglingly nice. I mean, the floor mats are original. The carpet's original. I mean, the shift boot does the Fiero shift boot things, you know. It's got to get fixed. I mean, dual ashtrays for the smokers. We'll clean those up. Power windows both work. I mean, it's just so good. Came with a repair manual, so that's nice to have for stuff. But the interior, it just blows my mind. I have yet, this is cool. I've yet to find one this clean. I mean, this is actually not messed up. I mean, it is messed up, but this is actually just needs some color back. The color is just kind of faded, or it's dirty. I can't tell, but if it is, we can color match this back right here, this little part. But I mean, there's no breaks, chips, everything's good. I mean, I'm scared to even touch this car. It's too good. It's too good. Now, the sunroof leaking, that's why I think I need to replace the seals. I'm gonna have to put a headliner in it. But a headliner is all I have to do to the interior, minus the few little delaminations I can fix. Shoot. I mean, guys, this thing, when I get done with this thing, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a beautiful time capsule car. I mean, the paint alone, I mean, once it's repainted, new cell panels, I mean, it's gonna be awesome. So let's get on the other side and look at this. I mean, look at this interior. It's just amazing, like a time capsule. This might be one of the nicest cars this year I've ever seen, or owned, I guess, not seen, but probably this is probably the nicest Fiero interior I've ever owned for sure. The last one I had was newer than this one and still didn't look this good. I mean, it's just so good. The gauge cluster looks great. The dash looks great. I mean, everything besides these delaminations here that I'm gonna have to fix in this spot and this spot, that's the only interior, minus maybe some cleaning, touch up on this, but it's not cracked, it's not busted. It's just maybe some color disorientation that we might have to fix here. You know, color match that back. But, I mean, the floors, just amazing. I mean, the seats, all the bolsters, everything, just beautiful. But that could be because this is an original 69,000 mile car. And the clutch and the brake pedal agree that it is definitely a 69,000 mile car. Let me show you what's in under the I would say hood, but under the trunk lid, I guess. We'll look underneath there. See what that is. Battery's dead for sure. Oh yeah, battery's dead. She sat here for a minute. I thought this was cool. The original keys. Instead of, I hardly ever get original keys to anything. Let's look under here and see what this engine looks like. Oop. Lifts right up, stays up. But look at how all the stickers, everything's just here. I mean, that's an original radiator hose. I mean, everything appears to be factory. Maybe not these plug wires, I'm not sure. I don't know, they might be. They say Packard. I mean, I'd have to research that and find out what wires this thing came with, but I mean, it's not bad. It's really pretty clean. I mean, considering how old this car is, I mean, and sitting, it needs cleaned. We got to do some cleaning to it, but when I get done with this thing, it's going to be so nice. The carpet back here, all the little stuff. These are all the caps for the wheels, for the lugs, just to go over those lugs. I mean, I got those. I don't even know what this is. This probably goes over a harness somewhere. Don't have a clue what this is yet. I want to say that probably has something to do with the, maybe the sunroof? I have no idea. This goes underneath this breather over here. I need to put a new filter in that. This thing has a Holley throttle body on it. Is that factory? Huh, I don't know. Okay, well, let's get the battery juiced up and fire this thing up, because it does run. Not sure that it runs extremely well, but we'll get it there. We'll clean it up. We'll get everything. We're going to change all the fluids and go through this sucker. Make sure she's running like a top. If I can get this cover. There we go. Okay, take this cover off. Let's go. Got it. Put that down here for a second. It's got a new battery. She's dead. See if I can get it fired up. Let this charge for a minute. I did end up getting the 5.7 liter. Basically a straight swap, put in the K1500. I just showed a video on it, but basically everything I did before when I tore the whole top end off this in another video, it's pretty much the same thing minus bell housing bolts and flywheel, and motor mount bolts. Basically the same teardown. I tore everything down, you know, minus I didn't take the heads off of it, but I yanked 305, got yanked out. It had spun a bearing in the bottom end, the crankshaft bearing had got spun on it. So anyway, that motor's gone, and I had this 5.7. It's exactly, I think it's a 97 engine, this is a 98, so it was almost a direct swap. Both, you know, same intake, same everything, so it was a direct swap, nothing fancy, it's all stock, and it runs really good. So I've been just using it around here, driving it. I've been driving this thing like crazy, so the four-wheel drive works, and it's a great truck. It's a really good little truck. So let this charge for a minute, get her fired up. I'll have to move it over where we're gonna start working on it. Oh yeah, she fired up. Counting them off. Look at how well this motor runs. Just smooth. It just runs so smooth. Oh, put these jumper cables off and get her moved over to where we're going to work on her. Can't have a good battery around here. I think every battery and everything's dead. Under the frunk here, factory jack and spare, everything, nothing's Mickey Mouse. It's all original. I love it. Can't believe how original this car is and not been Mickey Mouse with. Let this battery charge for a minute. Sounds really good for these are probably going to get a nice new coat of paint. Man, they're going to look so good. The whole car is going to look so good when it's done. I mean, just cleaning it's going to be amazing. It's going to look so much better cleaned. I find that mixing my own degreaser and putting in a little pump bottle is a lot easier, a lot cheaper. And I don't have to just waste a whole can of degreaser. I can mix up what I need. That's a lot better than spending all the money on degreaser. I did finally get tired of working on the dirt, so I did pour me a little concrete slab here to work on, so I can at least pull the car in here, work on it inside, actually jack it up on this concrete. Used a Harbor Freight portable garage, not too shabby. I did have this set up on the dirt and it worked for a while, but anyway. So after a good power wash, wow, already looking amazing. And I haven't even fully detailed it, just rinsed the grime and got the leaves and all the crap off of it, and it just looks amazing. I mean, it looks almost like a new car. It's just mind-boggling. I can't. I mean, the engine alone, it looks so much better. Just cleaning everything. Man, I'm just so excited when I get this thing completely detailed out, cleaned up, how good this car is going to look. Just can't wait. So let's keep going, get some rags, and wipe all this down, clean all this up. Use this air to blow out a lot of this water. Well, if we can have some air pressure, that'd be cool. What's going on? I got a pinch in my hose. That's what it is. Now, I bet that worked a lot better now. Okay. There was some stuff down in here that I should have blown this out first, but you know what they say about hindsight. Like I said, I should have blown all this out before I sprayed it. Oh well. Wow. It's amazing how much cleaner this engine is. It cleaned up really good. I mean, it looks great. I mean, I didn't even expect it to come. I mean, wow. It's just so nice. Blown away. So I took the battery out. I noticed there was a little bit of rust happening underneath the battery, which is pretty common. It's not terrible, but I'm going to clean this up, put some rust converter on it so it'll stop and not spread any farther than it is. Otherwise, everything else in here looks pretty good. I got a few things I'd like to clean up. Just get some of the surface rust off some of this stuff. Just clean it up, put some rust converter on it. The breather, looks like water has been getting down inside there because there was no filter to help seal this up, or no seal here. So I'm going to take this out, soak it to get the rust out of it, then repaint this all together. So we'll take this off, clean that up over there, get all this kind of painted, cleaned back up. This needs to soak with some rust dissolver, get it all cleaned up, and if it's really bad, we might just replace this whole breather. But let's get it out, clean it up. Well, so this is where I'm at. Had a hole in the side of this air box, so I got some sheet metal, wrapped it around inside, and now I'm going to attempt to repair this because I can't leave it just with the hole. Even though the tube goes past it, it's going to drive me insane, and when I paint it, I want it to look nice and clean and be tight. So I'm going to have to very slowly tack weld this very, very slowly around until I get this all back together, and grind it off and paint it. Hopefully it'll look good, and at least it'll be sealed up. And that's what I'm worried about more, is the fact that this needs to be sealed up. So this is going to take a minute. Good enough that the boot will now go up around it and seal properly. This will actually clamp down and hold now instead of having a gaping hole back here. So good enough. I'll get this painted up, and the inside wasn't so bad. Cleaned up, put some rust converter in it, get it painted up, and put it back on the car. I've got the air cleaners, first coat of black on this side. Other side I painted already once. It's on 2 coats on the inside, so outside, wait, put 2 coats on that. Should be a lot better than what it was. Of course, got that painted in there. Battery tray's been painted. I think I'm going to clean this throttle body out. So probably start by removing the throttle position sensor and then the idle air control valve. Take those out, clean in here, maybe take this off, check this gasket. Probably will make a custom gasket if I can't reuse this one. So I'd like to just clean this throttle body just in case, because there was some gunk inside this intake tube and it's built up, and I'd like to take it out and just clean that completely up. So we'll get that done. But I did find out that these plug wires are actually the originals, 100% original. And they're not in terrible shape. They're in really good shape. So the inside, I pulled a boot right there, and it's not corroded or anything. So I will pull the plugs later just to check and verify, also kind of tell me how the engine's running. So we will do that. But right now, I'm just going to focus on getting the throttle body off and get that cleaned up. I'm going to take these lines off here. These are for coolant. They run, one runs over here, the other one runs back around the other side there. I did notice I just barely touched this one and it's leaking coolant right here. So I'm going to have to replace this line right here. I don't know if I can order one of these lines from like the Fiero store or something. Otherwise, I'm going to have to custom make one, which isn't a big deal. I can custom make one. It's not a big deal. But going to have to replace this line because it's just rusted. And it's leaking right there. So, I'm sorry. It's leaking right there. It's pretty rusted right there. So, you can see it dripping. So that has to get replaced. It just runs over here to some rubber lines, runs under the intake, comes across, goes straight across here, replaces that. So it looks like we have to pull this intake manifold, probably to replace those, because I don't think I can fish those through. And it looks like they're secured. Well, maybe not. Might be able to get it out of there. We'll see. We'll see. Might be able to pull this line straight out the side here. See what happens. All right, intake is off. Nice. This line right there, apparently condensation had set, got from here, dripped down. But yeah, she's really bad right there. I mean, it's got a hole. I can feel it with my finger. Just completely rusted out. So I'm probably gonna have to bend a custom line. I don't know that I can order this line. So I'll probably just bend a custom one to match this. And being I have this as a template, that won't be too bad. I mean, at least I have something to go with, you know. If I had no template, then it'd just be whatever I come up with. But we can probably get this bent into shape. It's gonna be a fun little project, but we'll bend this line in and see if we can get somewhere with it. So let's get started on getting this line off here, getting this throttle body off, cleaning this. Because the main thing was I wanted to clean this throttle body because it's really dirty. And I want to get this idler control valve out and clean this entire throttle body up. We might even put a little bit of color on it just to, you know, clean it up, clear coat it just to keep it nice and clean. No, you know, rust and stuff. So, all right, let's get this line off. This is going to be fun to make. I guess I could just replace this section. I don't like that idea though. I could flare this out. I really don't like that idea because if this has another spot that's iffy, which it doesn't look, right there maybe. Okay. Okay, put some degreaser on this throttle body. Now I'm going to steam it. So I got to run into town, grab some steel line to replace the two lines that ran underneath the intake because I can't order those lines that I found. I mean, maybe if I searched a little more, but from like the Fiero store or anywhere I searched, I couldn't find any. So I'm gonna have to remake those. Some people bypass them and, you know, not heat the throttle body, but we're going back original. This car, I want to stay original, so I've got to go by the line and rebend it to match. And so that, you know, that'll be fine. Hopefully O'Reilly's has the tubing I need. So basically I have to make this line here out of this one piece of straight, well, I got two, but out of this regular standard line, I'm gonna have to bend this to match that. This should prove to be fun. got these pieces here. This mounts to the intake, sort of like that. This bolts into this spot here. This bracket actually holds the map sensor. Also supports these lines down here. I'm gonna have to heat these brackets up, get them off these lines, and then resolder them to those lines to hold them in place. So this should be interesting. Well, it's painted up. Got the brackets mounted on it. Lines up. I need to cut the ends off down there, and then put some little flares on the end of those so I can put my hose around that and tighten it up. But yeah, it looks better, and hopefully it doesn't leak. That's the plan. I've got the lines mounted to the bottom of the intake now. Test fitting everything. I'm gonna put the EGR line back on here. Then we'll just have to plug this back in once we set the intake back on the motor. Might have to tweak this line just a little bit, not sure. It's real close, but so far it lines up pretty good, stays real close to the intake like it should. As long as these hit those lines over there and I can connect, which I kind of put a taper on these just so when I slide the line over it, I can tighten it and it doesn't want to slide back over it. So it should help. But so far, I mean, it fits pretty good. So let's get it over here on the car and see how it lines up. I think that's kind of how it goes on these projects, though. You kind of start thinking, oh, I'm just going to clean the throttle body, and next thing you're like, oh, what about that? And oh, there's that too, and oh, there's that. Next thing you know, you've rebuilt the whole engine. Maybe not that far, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. These line up pretty good with these lines. That's good. I'd like to get these started in there before I pull the intake off, so I'm not fighting them on there later. This line needs to be under that one. So, come on. Before I get too crazy, now make sure I can get these lines back up here where they go. This goes up over, this goes up over, and then of course got the vacuum line at the bottom. I've got the lines back on here, clamped on, map sensor reattached to all these vacuum lines. Oh, gotta get that guy. Almost forgot that. Just gonna do that right now before I forget. Alright, that's on. So, check. All this is good. Plugged in. These bolts tightened down. The distributor cap did clear the lines with miles of room, which is good. I put the EGR valve, the old one, back on temporarily just because I still need to move this around, and I don't have that new one in yet. Throttle body's back on the tube. Intake with a new coat of paint and all that. It looks nice, you know, really cleaned up. Power. See what she does. She fires up. Idling a little high. Could be this EGR valve screwing with it. It's jacked up pretty good. So. A rattle from a heat shield. she's running a little rich right now, which could have to do with that air temperature sensor that I know was pretty gummed up and just looked terrible. So that new one should be here today. So maybe later today I can get that sensor on there and see if it makes it running any bit better. I just still need to pull the plugs. Now I gotta wait for it to cool down, but we don't have any water leaks, and that was my main concern. So no water leaks. She runs, she hits on all cylinders. The EGR valve screwed up, so that's causing it to run a little funky. Plus that air temperature, so we'll go through, check plugs, make sure everything looks good there. We know the throttle body's clean now, so it could be that the throttle body, if this computer had learned how to run with that being so jacked up, so dirty, maybe I need to reset it and let it run to relearn. Not sure. I'll have to look into that. But sometimes you clean a throttle body, and then like on newer cars you have to relearn the throttle idle speed because you got so much more air passing through that. Anyway, I'll look into that and see if there's something I need to do there. But otherwise, I mean, she runs, she doesn't leak water. I mean, I'm happy with that. I've got her jacked up now. I'm gonna address all this in here. Get all this cleaned up. Get this hardware kind of cleaned up so it's not, this actually looks pretty good here. I mean, these are clean. I mean, they're still black, and I mean, there's just a few that have some surface rust on them. It's a little bit of surface rust on some stuff. But genuinely, I mean, it's not bad. So I got the inner fender and I guess that's like a debris skirt out of here. Looks like some seam sealer. There is, at first I thought there was some major rust, and it's actually just the paint. Had some surface rust under the paint that just started to form. It all just kind of flakes off. That's still just paint. I mean, there's still paint here. It's just the paint's starting to flake. But, I mean, it's not bad. It's just paint starting to flake. There's some 1985 dirt, or 80s, 90s. Who knows? We're going to call it 80s dirt. Anyway, I'm going to get in here and clean this all up. Get this all cleaned up and painted. Put some rust inhibitor on all of this to keep it from going anywhere. And then coat it with some black. And make this look a lot nicer. Alright. Couldn't help myself. I tore the hub off. And the wheel bearing and all that. Pulled the CV axle out. I wanted to get in here better. I couldn't get into this area earlier. And this came out good up top, painting all this, cleaning, but I really wanted to get in here better. So, plus I wanted to check this ball joint, which it's really great. I mean, it moves like it should, and it's tight. Doesn't feel loose at all. Tie rod end feels good. Brake line looks okay. Seems like they were working before. He said something about spongy brakes. We're probably going to bleed everything, but now that I've got this all taken apart, I can get the emergency brake cleaned up better. I can re-grease the caliper bolts. I can repaint the caliper off the car. I can also soak these bolts. It should already be soaking right now. So we'll put them in some Evapo-Rust and let them soak. Get those cleaned up. We'll clean all these boots up. But we'll get all those parts cleaned up and painted off the car, and then put everything back on. It'll look really fresh, clean, and it'll make me feel better. This one I'm going to clean on the car. These feel tight. The bushings look good. So I'm not going to change any of that. I'm just going to clean this up and repaint it. A little bit better down here. On the top side, we'd already cleaned the crap out of it. But right in here, you can see this we couldn't get to. I want to get this crap out of here. Clean this A-arm better. Alright. Been soaking overnight in Evapo-Rust. Looks 1,000 times better. A lot cleaner. Still waiting on some of this stuff to dry. I'm really ready to throw this thing back together, at least this side, so I can get on the other side, tear it down. Just waiting on paint and waiting on soaking of bolts, and just a waiting game. That was a bit of a wrestling match. I'll show you how to put these on top here. Well, it's storming out here. That's nice. Well, we got the lower control arm in now, so let's get the top part here. Go ahead and put this guy where he wants to be. Nice. It's amazing how easy bolts go on after you've soaked them in evapor rust and wire brushed. Put the cotter pin back in. Did check this bearing. This bearing was good. It's good and tight, no issues. All right, got the brake caliper on. That one is the style that you twist, push, twist it, push, twist, push. They're pain in the butt. I got that one in there. The pads are on. Got to still hook up the brake line. I'm getting this e-brake cable hooked up. This basically just snaps in there. I'm going to clean this up a little bit before I snap it in there. Then I'll get this line on. The brake line's on, e-brake's reattached. The rotor, of course, I'd like to replace it. I don't have one right now. If I can find some relatively cheap, probably replace those. I don't like how you can see where it used to sit on it, where it was sitting for so long at one spot. But if I can get some new rotors, great. If I can't, I mean, these will have to be what we use for now. But, I mean, overall, looks way better than it did before. And the frame's been kind of sorted to where I'm not worried about any of that in there now. It's all been cleaned and painted, and all the bolts been soaked, and it looks 1,000 times better. So now I just got to do all that I did on this side to the other side, and we'll be good. So all the parts for the driver's side have been cleaned and repainted, minus the strut, which I'm working on. I'll get that cleaned up and painted, and then have to deal with the inside of the fender well. So the inside of here still needs to be done. I've started cleaning up a lot of it, but there's still a lot to get cleaned up and get some paint on. So I'm going to be working on this for probably the rest of the day, and probably get all this painted and then wait till tomorrow to reassemble. unless it dries by this evening and I get done, then I'll go ahead and reassemble. We'll see what kind of time I got. I love these little brushes. So I have the wheel back on. Lug nuts that soaked look pretty good. They're clean. These look great, just soaking these and then repainting the screws that go in the fender wells. It's really a nice touch. It's really clean. This I have soaked it, wiped it down, but everything's back in and it just looks super clean in here now. Really happy with how this turned out, how clean this is. The driver's side, I'm almost to the point of putting the fender back in this side. I've still got some more cleaning, but I've got this one rebuilt. Got a bit more cleaning to do on a few things, but that went back together. I still got the inner fender to go back in. So that's all I had time for this week, guys. Watch for next week. We're going to continue to bring this car back around. There's so many things that have to still be done, and you're just going to get to watch the entire process of bringing this car from me pulling it up and starting on it till it's completely finished. And if there's anything that you need to see or you want to see on a Fiero GT on the 85, if there's something that you want to look at or want to know how to fix, repair, or you've fought a battle or just anything, comment, let me know, and I'll see if I can get that content to you. And who knows. But anyway, tune in next week. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think. See you next week.